Mark Carney's speech argues that the post-Cold War rules-based international order has effectively ended, and that continuing to pretend it still works is now a liability, especially for middle powers like Canada. He says the world is not going through a transition, but a rupture. Great power rivalry has returned in its rawest form, with few constraints. Trade, finance, supply chains, and technology, once sources of shared prosperity, are increasingly used as tools of coercion. In this environment, hoping that compliance or accommodation will bring safety is an illusion. To explain this, Carney draws on Václav Havel's idea of living within a lie. For decades, many countries publicly upheld the story of a fair, rules-based system while privately knowing it applied unevenly and favored the strongest. That performance once delivered stability, particularly under American hegemony, which provided real public goods, but the bargain has collapsed. The institution's middle powers relied on the WTO, UN, COP process are weakened, and integration itself has become a vulnerability. Carney argues that when integration becomes a means of subordination, pretending it is still mutually beneficial only deepens dependence. The result is a global turn toward strategic autonomy, countries trying to secure their own energy, food, finance, minerals, and defense. While understandable, he warns that a world of self-sufficient fortresses would be poorer, more fragile, and less sustainable. Instead, Carney proposes a third path for middle powers, what he calls values-based realism. This means remaining principled, committed to sovereignty, territorial integrity, human rights, and limits on the use of force, while being pragmatic about how power now works. Progress will be incremental. Interests diverge. Not all partners share the same values. Countries must engage the world as it is, not as they wish it to be. For Canada, this means building strength at home and resilience abroad. Domestically, Carney points to tax reform, removal of internal trade barriers, massive investment in energy, AI, critical minerals, and infrastructure, and a major increase in defense spending tied to domestic industry. Internationally, Canada is rapidly diversifying, deepening ties with Europe, expanding trade and security partnerships across Asia, the Middle East, and the Global South, and engaging even with countries it does not fully align with. Rather than relying on failing multilateral institutions, Canada is pursuing variable geometry, different coalitions for different problems, based on overlapping interests and values. Carney's core strategic claim is that middle powers are weakest when they deal bilaterally with hegemons and strongest when they act collectively. Negotiating alone forces accommodation and competition for favor. Acting together creates leverage, resilience, and real sovereignty. Is not symbolic independence while remaining vulnerable to pressure, it is the capacity to withstand coercion. To live in truth, Carney says middle powers must stop invoking the rules-based order as if it still functions. Apply standards consistently to allies and rivals. Build institutions and agreements that actually work. And reduce economic vulnerabilities that undermine principled foreign policy. He concludes that the old order is not coming back and should not be mourned. Nostalgia is not a strategy. From its fracture, middle powers can build something better, more honest, resilient, and just if they act together. Canada, he says, has chosen this path openly and invites others to join.